every day, the primary urine filtered by both kidneys is 180 liters, while the final urine discharged is 1 to 2 liters. So, 99% is reabsorbed. How does it proceed? Why is the lung tubule divided into several parts? As normal, is there glucose in the final urine? To settle these questions, we'll learn tubular reabsorption. First, introduce the reabsorption of sodium. In the proximal tubule, the reabsorption of sodium accounts for 65 to 70%. In the first half, there are sodium-potassium pump on the peritubular membrane, sodium X co-importer and sodium-hydrogen exchanger on the lumen membrane. Sodium-potassium pump works to maintain the low sodium concentration in the cell. Due to sodium gradient, the structure of co-importer and exchanger change, resulting in the reabsorption of X and the secretion of hydrogen. X may be glucose, amino acid, and phosphate. Therefore, the active reabsorption of sodium is the power of reabsorption and secretion. Because of the attraction between different charges, the reabsorption power of bicarbonate and chloride is also the reabsorption of sodium. Because the proximal tubule can secrete hydrogen, the reabsorption of bicarbonate can reach 80%, while chloride reabsorption is inhibited. In this way, the concentration of chloride is higher in the latter half of proximal tubule. The permeability of tight junction between epithelial cells increased due to the increasing of interstitial fluid. Chloride can enter the interstitial fluid directly through pericellular pathway, making part of sodium reabsorbed passively. In the thin descending limb, only water can be reabsorbed. Thus, sodium is concentrated. The thin ascending limb is not permeable to water, but is permeable to sodium chloride. Therefore, sodium chloride diffuses into the interstitial fluid. The thick ascending limb can reabsorb sodium, potassium, and chloride actively. There are sodium-potassium 2-chloride co-importer on the lumen membrane. Due to sodium gradient, the structure of importer change. Thus, potassium and chloride enter the cell. This process belongs to secondary active transport. Furosemide can inhibit the co-importer, make the reabsorption of sodium chloride decrease, thereby the urine increase. Furosemide is the strongest diuretic in clinic. The early part of distal convoluted tubule can reabsorb sodium chloride actively through sodium chloride co-importer. It also belongs to secondary active transport. Thiazide can block it, thereby cause the urine increase. So, it's the most common used diuretic in clinic. There are two kinds of cells in the late part of distal convoluted tubule and the collecting ducts. The principal cells can secrete potassium, and the intercalated cells can secrete hydrogen. In principal cells, sodium-potassium pump on the peritubular membrane works to make low sodium concentration in cell. Sodium in the tubular fluid enters the cell continuously through sodium channel. In this process, the intracellular potassium increases continuously and can be secreted into tubular fluid through potassium channel. In habit, this process is called sodium-potassium exchange, being regulated by aldosterone. Next, introduce the reabsorption of water. It's a passive process. 65 to 70% is reabsorbed in the proximal tubule. The ascending limb and early part of distal convoluted tubule are impermeable to water. In the late distal tubule and collecting duct, the reabsorption of water are affected by hormones. We can see that in renal tubule, from up to down, there's water reabsorption. From down to up, water can't be reabsorbed. Bicarbonate and chloride take negative charge. The reabsorption accompanies with sodium. Bicarbonate reabsorption is related with hydrogen secretion. Hydrogen combines with bicarbonate to form carbonic acid. Carbonic acid is decomposed into carbon dioxide and water. Carbon dioxide diffuses into epithelial cells under the action of carbonate anhydrase. Carbon dioxide and water form carbonic acid again. Carbonic acid is decomposed into bicarbonate and hydrogen. Hydrogen is secreted. Bicarbonate enters the interstitial fluid. It can be seen that hydrogen secretion promotes the reabsorption of bicarbonate. So the reabsorption in proximal tubule reaches 80%. Reabsorption of potassium. About 65 to 70% potassium is reabsorbed in the proximal tubule and 25 to 30% in the loop canal. So almost all the filtered potassium is reabsorbed. The reabsorption is active, but the mechanism is unclear. Reabsorption of calcium. In plasma, 50% of calcium binds with protein, can't be filtered. Calcium in ionic state can be filtered. Almost all the filtered calcium is reabsorbed by the tubule, and less than 1% is discharged in urine. The reabsorption can be promoted by parathyroid hormone. Glucose and amino acids are important nutrients, must be completely reabsorbed. It takes place in the proximal tubule, belong to secondary active transport. The reabsorption of glucose is limited. The glucose level in plasma at which the glucose first appears in the urine is called renal glucose threshold. In diabetes, plasma glucose is too high, exceeding the threshold, so glucose appears in urine. Let's do a summary. 99% of the primary urine is reabsorbed by the renal tubule. The maximum takes place in the proximal tubule. reaching 65 to 70%. The reabsorption in the distal convoluted tubule and the collecting duct is regulated by hormones. Accompanied with sodium reabsorption, there's reabsorption of glucose, amino acid, water, and negative ions, and the secretion of hydrogen. Therefore, blocking the reabsorption of sodium would get diuretic effect. That's all for this class. Thank you. See you.